beat big spending attorneys in your market. Does that sound good? Who here wants to learn how to beat big spending attorneys in your market? Well, that is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to talk about how to beat big spending attorneys in your market. So show of hands, who here has an attorney in their market or a law firm in their market that spends way more money than you could even comprehend? Give me your hands up if you have that. Okay, cool. And who here has ever felt, man, I can't beat them. They spend too much money. They're too good at marketing. Say me if that sounds like you. All right, fantastic. Well, you are in the right room at the right time. Congratulations. So we're going to talk about 3 different strategies. Now, this is obviously a very complicated topic, and I can't teach you every single thing that you need to know, but I'm going to teach you 3 amazing strategies today that you can actually implement today, and then you can go back and you can start competing with these guys. The first step that most people mistake when they're trying to compete with these big law firms is they advertise at the wrong level. So we need to advertise at the correct level, but most people don't know what the correct level is. In life, things typically occur in 4s, right? So we have 4 seasons: summer, winter, spring, fall. We have 4 directions: northeast, south, west. We live on a round planet, but for some reason, they say there's the 4 corners of the earth, right? I don't know why it is, things just appear in 4s, but there's also 4 levels of buying. And once you understand the 4 levels of buying, then you can understand how you can adequately compete with bigger law firms in your market. So the first level of buying is unaware or no problem. What that means, most people in the world do not have a problem, or they don't know they have a problem. Somebody today, right now, could be driving and they're not going to get into a car accident until this afternoon, so they don't have a problem yet. But once they get into that car accident, or once they find out that their spouse is cheating on them, or once they get arrested for DUI, that's when they have a problem. And then they graduate to the research phase. Now, the research phase is where they go to Google and they start looking for all those questions that they have, right? They start looking for, what are the penalties of a DUI? Am I going to lose my CDL? How do I get my car paid for? How do I get my neck and my back pain taken care of? How do I get custody of my kids? Is divorce going to screw up my kids? Like all those questions that they have, that's when they go to the research phase, right? Now, once they complete the research phase, they then go to something called vendor selection. Vendor selection is where they're ready to hire an attorney. Vendor selection is when they go to Google and they search personal injury attorney, criminal defense attorney, family law attorney, estate planning attorney, whatever type of law you practice, right? And then after that, they then hire you. The problem is that only 3% of people who actually need your services are in the vendor selection stage. In fact, only 3% of any given market anywhere is actually ready to buy. That means that 97% of the people who need your services, who need to hire an attorney, they're at the research phase. But where do most people advertise? Where do most lawyers advertise? Vendor selection, right? They try to run keywords for, or Google ads for personal injury near me and car accident lawyer and DUI attorney and criminal defense attorney and all those keywords, right? But what does high school economics teach us? It teaches us that if supply is really low, because only 3% of the cases that we're going for are in one area, but demand is really high because all the attorneys are advertising, what does that mean it's going to cost to advertise at the vendor selection level? Somebody shout it out. It's going to cost a lot, right? Now, conversely, let's say you go where supply is really high. You got 97% of the people, and very, very few of the attorneys are advertising at the research level. What does that mean for cost? It's less, right? It's way less money to advertise at the research level. Now, I'm not saying you abandon the vendor selection level, but what I'm saying is that if you can take advantage of the knowledge that most people are in the research phase, and it's cheaper to advertise there, then that's where you can get clients. And I want you to remember this. When you help people solve enough small problems, they will eventually hire you to solve the big problems. Who here has ever seen any of my content online? Raise your hand if you've ever seen my content online. This is my entire strategy. Like everything I'm talking about today is something that I do. I've proven that it works, right? Because what happens is I understand that there's all these marketing companies out there that are advertising for law firm SEO and law firm website and all that stuff, for law firm PPC. So what I do is I go to the research phase. I go where lawyers are trying to figure out, how do I get cheap cases? How do I get reviews for my law firm? How do I do all that stuff? It's really cheap there. And what happens is people watch my videos, they know, like, and trust me, and then they hire me. Because when you help people solve enough small problems, they eventually hire you for the big problem. Raise your hand if you've never met me before, but you kind of feel like you know me. All right, there's a few people in this room who kind of feel like they know me, and I haven't met most of the people in this room. It's because I advertise at the research stage. Now, here's another interesting fact about the research stage. Forrester did a study, and they found that 82% of people prefer to hire the companies that help them do the research. So what that means is, again, if you help people solve small problems, they will hire you to solve the big problem. So if you help people do the research they will skip vendor selection altogether and they'll hire you. So how do you do this? I mean, this is great in theory, but how do you actually implement this? Well, every single person that hires you because they have problems, right? Nobody hires you because they just want a lawyer. Nobody's like, oh man, I just can't wait to hire a lawyer today, right? The way that I recommend doing this is create buckets of problems. So this is an example of a bucket of problems for a car accident attorney, right? Someone who has been in a car accident, yeah, they've been in a car accident, they have the bigger problem of they need to get compensated from the insurance company, but what are all the small problems they have? So for example, they have back pain, they have neck pain, they need to get their car fixed, they can't work. Maybe they just got into an accident and they're not sure exactly what pictures are they supposed to take of at the accident scene. Like what are all the problems that they have? So the first step you do is write down all the categories of problems that your ideal clients have. And why are we doing this? Well, here's why. This is how much it costs to advertise for keywords like car accident attorneys in my area or best car accident attorney. That's $211 every single click. That's not every single client. That's not every single phone call. That's every time somebody clicks on that ad, you are getting charged $211. Doesn't matter if it's a competitor, doesn't matter if it's somebody trying to sell you something, doesn't matter if it's a lead, doesn't matter if it's a client, doesn't matter. Google will charge you $211 every single time. Now, take a look at this. Neck injury from car accident. Neck injury, car accident. Neck damage from car accident. Car crash, neck injury. Car accident, injured neck. So look at the prices. $4, $4.69, $4.69, $4.90. It's significantly cheaper to advertise at this level. So the idea is that these are people that are doing the research. So here's what you do. You take your buckets, you create a video. I'm the video guy. I love doing video. Video is not that hard. Video is getting easier and easier and easier with AI and all that type of stuff. So create a video that addresses all the problems in each bucket. And then what you want to do is you want to make sure that that video answers everything completely. If you want to do a video on neck pain, for example, find a chiropractor and interview them and get all the questions answered in one video. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take the video, you're going to put it on a landing page. The landing page should have a headline at the top that's related to the problem. It doesn't say, hey, we're a personal injury attorney. It should say, interview with a chiropractor teaches you how to get rid of your neck pain after a car accident, or something related to the problem that they're having, right? Then you put the video on the page. Then you go to rev.com and you get the video transcribed. And then you go to ChatGPT, take the transcript. You say, please turn this into a persuasive landing page content. It's going to kick out a landing page for you. You put on, now you've got your landing page. And now you can run ads whenever someone searches car accident neck pain, car accident back pain. Make sure that you have an individual video for each of these buckets. And then you can capitalize on these cheap clicks. On this page, you're going to put a pixel. A pixel is a little piece of code that tells Facebook and tells Instagram, it tells Google, hey, this person has been on this page and you should show them more content. Has anyone seen my videos everywhere, like on Facebook and Google and YouTube and email and everything? Here's why. It's because all of our pages have pixels. We identify, hey, this is somebody that, maybe they're not looking for a lawyer marketing company right now, but it's a lawyer who's shown interest in this topic, so we want to stay on top of them because the fortune is in the follow-up. What that allows us to do is that allows us to show more ads. We can now show ads on Facebook. We can show ads on Google. On Facebook, what I like doing is creating individual posts and individual videos that are related to my buckets. So if I already know that they said something about back pain, then all my videos on Facebook that are going to start triggering are going to be on how to relieve your back pain, how to relieve your back pain, how to relieve your back pain, anything related to the issue that they actually initially searched for. Because if they went to that page, you know that they're interested in it, and then they stay on the page, and then you can show them that. Google, you can use something called Display Network, which has 2 million partners. So that's why when you go to websites like NewYorkTimes.com and Weather.com, you start seeing ads at the top and on the side. You can put your branding there. People don't even register with it a lot of times. It could be subconscious, but what happens is they start seeing you over and over and over and over again. And what's cool with Facebook is you can actually put triggers on Facebook. And what I like doing is I like creating a custom audience that is comprised of people that watch 25% or more of my videos. If the video triggers and you watch the video and you watch 25% or more of the video, now I know you're interested. Why am I doing 25%? Well, because 25% is an eternity. Does anyone have teenagers here? Raise your hand if you have teenagers. You've seen how people use their cell phones these days, right? People's attention spans are like this, right? So if they actually pay attention long enough to watch 25% of this video, odds are getting really good that this is your target audience. Now, I want to do a little bit of math. Let's say car accident attorney near me is $150 a click. Compare that to neck pain after car accident, which is $5 per click. What that means, you'll get 30 clicks of neck pain for every 1 click of car accident attorney for the same price. Let's just say that 50% of these neck pain injury clicks are legit, right? And those trigger the follow-up and do the 25% and create the custom audience and all that type of stuff. Let's say that that triggers 2 consultations, which if we spend $150, we're at $75 per consultation. Let's say you close 50%, that's 1 case at $150. This is how you do it, because at the end of the day, whoever can spend the most to acquire a customer will always win. That's one of the principles of marketing. Whoever can spend the most to acquire a customer will always win. The reason they can get so many clients and the reason they can outspend you is because they can afford to spend so much to get a case. The 2 ways you can afford to spend the most to get a client is you get your cost of acquiring really low and you get your average case value very high, right? And then the higher you get your average case value, the more you can afford to scale up how much you can actually spend on to get a client. But once you can do that, everything in between is profit, and then you can reinvest that in your marketing, and that's the way that you can take some of these guys on. That's number 1 way that you can use pay-per-click advertising to affordably beat these guys that are willing to spend $150 a click, $200 a click, something like that. The second strategy that I want to talk to you guys about is prioritizing your intake. There is a massive opportunity right now that almost everyone that I talk to that runs a law firm is sleeping on. Everybody thinks social media doesn't work, but social media is the absolute best opportunity that you have right now for paid advertising. But most people don't look at it the right way. I want to introduce you to somebody named Ethan Ostroff. Ethan Ostroff is one of my business partners in one of my companies called Attorney Assistant. Ethan started his law firm 18 months ago and has generated 27,259 leads using social media. Of those, he has signed up 2,240 cases. These are injury cases. They're not like asylum cases or anything. Like they're 2,240 injury cases. I don't know if you're doing the math. That means that 8.2% of his leads turned into cases. And this is why most people think that social media doesn't work. Because most people focus on those 92% or 98%, I don't know what it is. I don't do math live. That's one of the promises I made myself. But the 90-something% that didn't turn into clients, right? Because everybody I talk to, they say, I ran Facebook ads for my car injury campaign or for my DUI campaign or for my family law campaign, and all I got was crappy leads. All I got was broke people. I couldn't get anybody on the phone. It just didn't work out for me, right? Well, yeah, most people are not good leads, as we saw here. But here's the kicker. This is the thing that I really want to emphasize. $217 a case is how much he's paying for these cases. So at $217 a case, do you think it's worth trying to figure out how to sort through those 90-some-odd% leads to find the 8% that are good? It definitely is, guys. So here's how he does it. He has a team on his law firm that actually handles intake, is sorting through the leads that are good, identifying the good leads, and rejecting the bad leads. So it's funny though, because we actually came to the same conclusion before Ethan and I ever became business partners. I had 2 DUI attorneys that I was running a paid Facebook campaign for DUI. Basically, they were identical campaigns. Each law firm got 300 leads. Everything was exactly the same, right? Attorney A got 0 cases, not a single case out of 300 leads. And then Attorney B got 75 cases, approximately, out of 300 leads. So I called Attorney A, and I was like, what happened? You got 300 leads and no cases. So tell me what happened with this campaign. And he said, well, I got the leads, but I called them, and I couldn't get anybody on the phone. So I was like, well, how many times did you call them? And he said, well, I called them once, maybe twice, which we all know means he called them 1 time. I call Attorney B. And I say, Kevin, how did you do this? And the attorney laughed at me. He's like, yeah, nobody answers the phone the first time. He's like, you know how many robocalls there are every year? We have this really cool system that we call 3 times 3 ways. And I was like, what's 3 times 3 ways? He's like, well, what happens is when somebody contacts our firm, they get a text message, and then they get a phone call, and then they get an email. And if we don't hear back from them that day, the next day, they get a text message, they get a phone call, and they get an email. And then if they still don't hear back from them on day 3, they get a text message, they get a phone call, and they get an email. This is the difference between 75 cases and 0 cases. 75 cases is a significant difference, but the difference is Attorney B runs his law firm like a business. He has a team that prioritizes intake. When you're trying to beat these firms like Morgan and Schmorgan and all these other firms, what you're trying to do is, it's not about one little thing. It's about checking all the boxes and getting all the little things right and using all these little strategies, and intake is a massive one. Now, what's cool is that we found some ways to enhance 3x3 ways. First thing, send a text message that includes your name. So, does anyone here have an iPhone? Raise your hand. Okay. Have you ever gotten a phone call from someone you don't know and it says maybe John Smith or maybe so-and-so? The way that that triggers is through emails and it's through text messages that get opened. So your first text message, you want to give them 15 minutes to open that text message, because once they open that text message, now when you call them 15 minutes later, it's going to say underneath of it, maybe Mark Jones or maybe whatever your name is. Second thing I just told you, ask them for a good time to call. Like maybe you're calling them at 9 o'clock in the morning and they're dropping their kids off at school. Next thing is the double dial. Now this one's controversial. I think that I'd rather, what do they say, act first and beg for forgiveness later. You know who doesn't double dial? Robo-dialers. Yeah, robo-dialers don't double dial. You know who does double dial is people that are having an emergency, people that, that your kid's school, your kids are sick or whatever it is, but robo-dialers don't. And look, if they contacted you, you have to know that most law firm clients think that their situation is an emergency, whether it actually is or not. Most of them think that their situation is an emergency, right? So, I think it's justified you can double dial. Now, this is one of the best tips that I can give you. Vary your call times. There's going to be multiple call windows. There's 9 a.m. to noon. There's noon to 3. There's 3 to 5. And then there's something called the golden hours, 5 to 9 p.m. And then the weekends also. Weekends are also golden hours. The clients that use this system sign up the majority of their cases from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. and on the weekends. Why is that? It's because people are home. People actually answer the phone. They're not doing as much stuff, so they're much more likely to answer the phone. Most law firms turn off their phones at 5 p.m. and go home for the day. Well, that's why it's important that you have a system. You have a system and people that are dedicated that at 5 o'clock, they're going to start calling people, right? Because that's when you can get people to sign up. And every single one of these, like, we're not selling ice cream, guys. Like, every single case is worth thousands of dollars, right? So it's important to do this, and it's worth investing in this system. Now, another thing that I love doing, I love using curiosity in my marketing, so with this is no different. One line that you can use, leave them a message, says, hey, I'm trying to reach you. I have an idea that I'd love to get your opinion on in terms of how we can handle your case. I'd love for you to call me back. So what that does is two things. First of all, it's curiosity, right? Second, people love to have their opinions heard. Everybody wants to speak their opinion, right? So these are just all of these little things. I call these the inches, right? Like, not one of these things is going to be the magic bullet, but when you do all of these things, it pays off, right? Trust me, it definitely pays off. Now, there's another thing that you can do called by the way marketing, and this follows with my fortune is in the follow-up. Never use the F word. I hear people using the F word all the time. The F word is follow-up. Never say, oh, I'm just following up for a consultation. Don't say that. Instead, do something that I call by the way marketing, and what that is providing value, right? So we have a client, his name's Lance. He's a DUI attorney up in Seattle. And I told this story, I actually kind of told this as like a hypothetical thing, and then he went out and did it, and he's been using this. He said it added $30,000 a month to his law firm. So what he does, here's a perfect example. He had a client or a lead come into his office. They got arrested for something, I don't know what, and they left without hiring him because his fees were like $7,500. It was expensive, and they wanted to think about it. So he said, okay, cool, no problem. So a couple days later, he texted them and said, hey, this is attorney Lance. I just wanted to thank you so much for coming in and sharing your story with me. By the way, because your case is in front of Judge so-and-so, I think a really good defense would possibly be XYZ. That guy picked up the phone and called him and hired him right there. Right? I have another client, his name is David Buckley. David Buckley is a personal injury attorney, and he creates lots of content that helps people solve problems. And what's cool is that he has he's got a lot of a library on YouTube. But you don't have to do this with YouTube. He just used this because he has a resource. So somebody came into his office. It was somebody who their child was hit by an Uber driver and killed. I think that's the details of it. And he was the 5th attorney that they hired. And they left his office without hiring him. So he sent them an email. And he said, hey guys, again, I want to express my condolences for your situation. Here's a video that I think will actually help. Here's a video I filmed a little while ago, and it was about anyone that's injured from somebody that's in the gig economy, whether it's Uber, DoorDash, or Instacart, or things like that. I wish you the best luck in the future. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Because he sent that video, because he followed up with more value, they called him back, they hired him, it's $1 million case. By the way, marketing, follow up with value. Always provide more value. Strategy number 3 is give 10 times more value than you expect to receive. My favorite quote in the whole world is, you can have everything in life you want if you just help other people get what they want. That's by a guy named Zig Ziglar, right? You can have everything in life you want if you just help other people get what they want. Now, I told you about Dan Newlin a little while ago. I mentioned his name, but Dan Newlin, as I said, has one of the largest law firms in the country. He is personal injury law firms in the country. He's beating Morgan & Morgan in Orlando, which is Morgan & Morgan's hometown. And what he told me is he started with himself, a secretary, and a goldfish. But what he did is he understood that if he wanted to get value, he needed to give 10 times more value than he hoped to get back. So he told me some of the stories about things he did, and one of the things that he did I thought was super innovative. Who are all the people that could refer me business, right? And what is it that they actually want? What do they want? So he thought about, okay, how about funeral home directors? What do funeral home directors want? Oh, okay, I know. They want to make more money on funerals, right? So what he started doing is he started creating seminars, free seminars, and he would invite all the funeral home directors in Orlando and Central Florida, in the entire area, and what he would teach them how to cover the cost of funerals through insurance, through death benefits, through health insurance. I don't know what kind of insurance, some kind of insurance, right? But what he did is he taught them how to make more money. That's insanely valuable to them, right? And what that did is 2 things. First of all, it made them know, like, and trust him. The second thing is it built reciprocity. Actually did a third thing. The third thing is it made them refer cases to him, right? Because now he's giving them all this value. He's making himself a familiar face, and he's helping them solve problems, right? So that led to a whole other series of things that ended up where he is today. But what I want you guys to do is I want you to think about, like, what are ways that you can provide value to other people who could refer you business? I heard this story about a personal injury attorney in Los Angeles, and I thought this was the coolest story. So he was a criminal defense attorney, but more specifically, he focused on traffic tickets, right? So very high volume. And what he wanted to do is he wanted to get into personal injury, but he didn't have the budget in Los Angeles. Anyone from Los Angeles here? It's expensive over there, right? So he didn't have the money, and there's a lot of competition in Los Angeles. So what he did is he got a bunch of gold business cards made, and he went around and he thought, okay, who is every single business and every single person in this area that could refer me a case, that could refer business to me? So he went around and he just started passing out these gold business cards. Now these gold business cards, on them said, hold this card for 1 free traffic ticket defense for the next 10 years. And basically he used that giving more value, figuring out what skills does he have. He used that to grow his law firm, and then he ended up with a really big law firm, right? So guys, those are some strategies that you can use to beat the big spending firms in your attorney. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today.